The front, I think the front works much better than the back, to be honest. Regarding the colour, I know it's a trademark colour for, performance blue is what you associate with these cars. But I'm going to just change it a little bit. So just look at that, and I'll just go a little bit greener. What do you think of that? Not so much?
No, I think back to performance blue. Well, I like my performance blue.
Okay, there we are, back to normal. As we said before, if only they had the colours from the Genesis range on these cars. Yeah. That Matria blue from the G80 or the GB60, that silvery green that we had, that was fantastic. The wheels are good, love them. They're new wheels, 19-inch.
Yeah, they look great, really do.
But this, oh my gosh, it's like Friday afternoon and they've gone, oh crap, we haven't got a spoiler on it. Yeah. Everyone's gone home. There's just a work experience kid left.
Knock one of those out.
And look at it. I think it would look far better without that.
Yeah, and you've got this little black cutaway section here as well.
And oh no, look at this, around here. All these straight lines.
Good sized ding in the
Yes. Somebody's run into it. Yeah. It's like Hyundai's got these different design teams. Hyundai and Genesis are very different. Genesis is all rounded. Yeah. And remember the Ioniq 5, when they came out, it was like Tron, Legoland style, but we accept them now.
I did, yeah.
And we'll have one later in the week. We'll have the Ioniq 5N later in the week. But the Ioniq 6, though, it's like a sea creature. It's like a seal or a dugong or something. Yeah. It's very rounded.
No, they're all good. I mean, they've certainly pushed the boundaries with design, Hyundai, I think, with their cars, and I like that. Why not? Why produce something that's the same as everyone else? Mm. They've come up with something really different. Overall, I'm liking it.
Okay, straight to the executive summary. If you're after a car that can do double duties equally well, be a weekend warrior track car, and take the relos in relaxed comfort on a long-distance country trip, guess what? This is not the perfect car. The very thing that makes it do one of these things very well compromises the other a little too much. This is a great track day car, just as much fun and just as quick as the hatchback. This car, the i30 Sedan N, has an upgraded differential, better software and a stiffer chassis, and by all accounts is just as fast or faster. Now make no mistake, it's still a really good family sedan. It's just that the amount of road noise inside the cabin depends a lot on the quality of the road surface, more than it would in a normal sedan. While the suspension is electronically adjustable and quite comfortable, the chassis and the bushings are intentionally very stiff, something that pays dividends on the track. But on suburban roads, even on the softest suspension setting, it's never a floaty ride. It's still pretty firm by normal car standards, with quite limited suspension travel. So when you come across an unexpected dip, as we did a few times, it can be a bit firmer than you'd like. So, if you want a sedan, and comfort and noise is a real priority, why not save 14k and just go with the standard i30 sedan? Or even better, may I suggest you might prefer the Sonata N-Line, which admittedly is less track focused, but at the same price of this car, has more power, more torque, more elegant styling that won't date as quickly in my opinion, is considerably more luxurious, has more features that don't come in this car, like the 360 camera and radar-based cruise control and the head-up display. It won't be quite as quick on the track, but call me an old fogey, I think I prefer it. But now I've spoiled the ending, why don't you come along and see what Mark thinks of it. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, Stu.
Good morning, viewer. Hello, viewer.
Viewer. One.
It's early in the day, I haven't got up yet. You've only just sat in this car 30 seconds ago. Mm. I'm waiting for you to the first criticism, which won't take long.
The steering is just super light. I guess we can make that a little harder as we go through the different settings, but very light and fluffy there at the moment.
For those of you that haven't seen the i30N review, that's over 2 years ago we did the i30N hatch.
2 years, right.
We're not going to cover all the same ground we did, because that was a really excellent review, if I say so myself.
Yeah,
you were
great.
Brilliant that day.
Great little car.
So if you want to see the i30N hatch, there it is up there. It's the same but different. But you'll notice it's already starting to bing and bong at you.
There's a lot of that, isn't there?
Now it says we're in school zone, but we're not. This one now has cameras and nav and GPS data to know what the speed limit is. Now, if you can turn that off, but you've got to do it every time you get in the car. And that's really annoying.
That's the ongoing, the problem with a lot of those cars, isn't it? You have to disable some of this tech, which is there to make things a little bit easier for everyone, but it just really really confuses the issue, I believe, sometimes, doesn't it?
And there's a bit laggy too. Driver assistance, speed limit. The problem is it bings because it thinks you're going over the speed limit, even though you weren't. Hyundai, please, can you make that part of the driver profile? So if I save that to my profile, that's the way it stays. You can tell I'm in a shitty mood today because driving up to your place, everybody was off their meds. I'm telling you, it's a Monday morning. Why are people so aggressive? Last time we reviewed the i30N, it had Pirelli P0s on, and we commented on how noisy they were on anything but a perfect surface. We've now got Michelin Pilot Sport 4s on, and I thought they'd be better, but they're really loud.
Yeah, there's a lot of road noise there, isn't there? There's no doubt about that.
It's a bit smoother here, but here's a concrete strip coming up, so just listen to this. Yeah, and it's still not great. Now talk to me about the seat. You and I, we're both 6 foot tall, 184 centimetres.
Which is good. I mean, there's plenty of adjustments. I've got lumbar support, which I like, which we haven't had before, so that's great. I've got that seat down as far as I can. It's still, to me, a little too high, and not only that, there's not a lot of headroom in this. You wouldn't want to be too much taller than I am.
No.
I'd like to get that a little lower. Not a lot of side bolster there, is there?
There's no option to put those sports manual bucket seats in this car. The hatchback, you can option into the comfort pack to get these seats, but you cannot get anything other than these seats in this car. Right. So they're electric, yes. They've got lumbar support, yes. And my favourite, as you know, there we go, heating and cool seats. I love that. It's Australia. And they don't go down low enough. That's not that hard. It should be able to go lower.
Yeah. The steering weight of the steering, we're only doing 60, 70 k's an hour. We're in standard mode here. It is so light. Yeah, let's fix that.
Let's go to the standard sport setting. So the left blue button, which changes your modes. So there's normal, and that's sport. So that should stiffen it up a little bit. Gave us a bit of exhaust note. But for you, Mark, because I know how you like to drive, we're going to a customised N mode. So the way we do that is I'm going over here, engine sportiest, steering firmest, and 2 levels of limited slip diff. You can have loose or tighter.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's go with tighter and
tighter. Stability control. Again, we won't turn it off. We'll go minimum amount of stability control, but not off completely. Transmission, snappiest, and exhaust sound, maybe not the loudest. Maybe we'll just go so it doesn't drone too much. That should be your setting. Now to get to that, right-hand blue button, that's it. Now you're in custom mode. But if you hold it too long, it allows you to change the function of the button.
Yeah, okay.
It's not the i30N sedan, it's the i30 Sedan N.
Get it right, Stu.
Yeah. Somebody picked me up on that. And is it the same as the i30 hatch that we reviewed over 2 years ago?
It looks a lot different.
The dimensions are quite different. The wheelbase is longer, the track's wider. It is actually quite a different car. The steering feels slightly slower, even though the rack's the same ratio. Because of the longer wheelbase, it's a little bit lazier to turn in. Engine mounts are improved. The body's about 29% stiffer. There's a different brace in the back between the strut towers, which adds about 9 or 10% by itself. It's just stiffer and sharper and tighter, supposedly, than the one we drove 2 years ago. Look, we've got a lap timer, so laps around Winton, 140. Somebody's doing 144s, that's pretty good. Previous owner. Acceleration, 0 to 100, they say mid-5s. Realistically, 5.8, 5.9, 6.0.
Yeah, there it is, right. All recorded.
A lot of data there. If you're the data kind of person, if you want to reconfigure what gauges are on the dash, and you can see a history of your oil temp and your engine temp, and how you've been using the brakes, you're hardly using any brakes, mate.
Yeah, no, don't need to at the moment. So we're going to get some brake shapes here on our data to see what sort of bar I can get. We'll try that later. I need to be up around 100 bar. I need to be able to trail that off nicely, or do I need a little bit of a tabletop on the brake trace?
You're not driving a Formula 2 car.
I've just spent, the last 2 months with my head in data of a Formula 4 car, so I'm pretty familiar with what you need on an F4 car.
Throttle map. That'd be funny if the cop pulls you over and says, "It wasn't me," and he goes, "Let's just check your throttle map." We can have a shift light wherever you like.
Yeah, I'd like some shift lights.
6.7. Let's bring it back a bit so it comes in a bit earlier. 6.5.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? The diff's really good.
I'll give it full exhaust noise. So it's pretty lively, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. The diffs on these cars these days, with the amount of power going through the front wheels, are really clever. Sort of livened the speed up a little bit. The steering's really come alive. It felt a little, I made the comment before, it's slower speed, a little dead, a little wooden, with a bit of speed on board. It's superb.
It's got N track sense, so it actually knows when you're starting to get a bit feisty and responds accordingly by raising the shift down points. And
certainly does bang through those gears a bit quicker, doesn't it? Really responsive on the throttle, isn't it, Stu? I mean, diff feels fantastic. We've got to find a little bit of twisty stuff here. I just want to see how, and try some different diff settings. Bit of rev limiter there, Stu. That's impressive there, Stu. I just think it's a really good road to test a high-performance front-wheel drive car. Really nice weight. I love the fact it's so configurable in terms of the way the driver sets it up to exactly how they want to have the car.
Okay.
Certainly good out of there, isn't it?
Here's our blind crest. Woo! That all.
Really user-friendly, isn't it? Just pulls out of those corners beautifully. It does feel different to the i30N hatchback, doesn't it?
Yeah. You can feel the longer wheelbase.
You really can. It's great. It's not quite as nimble.
Yeah.
Would be the best way I can think of describing that.
Yep. Yeah, it's actually really
It's
good.
nice through there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So stable.
Very hardy little motor. It is as nimble as the hatch.
That's fun.
It's fun.
So,
Very good.
diff. Why don't we make a change on the diff there, Stu? I'd like to see what we can.
There's only two settings
Yeah.
for diff. I mean, it's still working as a electronically controlled mechanical limiter slip diff. It's just a little bit looser, but less grip on the apex. So here we go.
Yeah, it's definitely different on the turn-in.
You feel it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And not quite as much traction. And
Actually, it's probably better.
oh, you think it's better?
Yeah, it's definitely a little heavier on the turn-in. There on the higher setting. I think you're probably going to pull a little bit more wheel spin out of it, but it just turns in so much better.
Yeah.
Like it turns in on the higher setting, you can get it in, but you need a lot more energy to get it in,
Yeah.
get it into the corner. So that's one of the things I wanted to have a look at. What does it actually do? Yeah, look, I think the having it on that slightly looser setting,
Yeah.
the car just turns in a little more nicely. You can get on the power. It actually feels like on the higher setting on the diff, it understeers a little bit. It's locked. It's not wheel spinning, but it's pushing. So for me, the slightly better on these tight, twisty roads is the what I would call more normal setting
Okay.
on the diff. Yeah, that's
They've
nice.
changed the way the shift lights work. It used to be a trail of LEDs on the top, but now you get the whole thing goes, look
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
change gear.
So we've got our lane departure back on, Stu. I'm just going to hold this down.
Until
I'm
it
gonna,
goes orange.
Yeah.
And
I'm
then
going
off
to get
it,
rid of that
and then
because
lift it. Oh yeah. And it's got the green wheel as well,
Yeah.
so a short tap on it as well. There, it should go off now. Okay.
that's way better because around all these bends,
Yeah.
I'm staying in the middle of the lane.
Yep.
I'm nowhere near the white lines, and it's still tugging on the steering wheel when it doesn't need to. Like it's intervening all the time. Actually, it's even more annoying than the beeping.
Yep.
That constant intervening with the steering.
Well, the trouble is, mate, it turned on that steering wheel assist by itself as we swap around modes,
Yeah.
even though we turned it off previously.
Look, they really do a great job. You know, we're coming up with some negatives straight off the bat, but Hyundai's brilliant. dynamically, from a fun factor. I think the look of the car is great.
Looks like we've run out of road.
We have run out of road. Here's a bit of Australiana for you.
It's cute. Go away, you're upsetting my dogs. I don't like visitors. So just for the international viewers, this is Glen Davis in New South Wales. We're about an hour and 2 hours out of Sydney, and it's just a typical Australian scene with typical Australian bashed up roads.
About as good as it gets. I've got the seat that's automatically come back. For our larger American and Australian drivers, that slides back automatically, so that's not in my driving position.
And you've still got leg room.
Yeah, that's fine.
And because it's a lower roof line than the hatch, it's a little bit compromised, but it's still not too bad. What do you reckon?
It's not too bad. It's not much worse than what it is in the front.
Yeah. I didn't show you, it's full of my camera gear in here, but you can see that cross brace there that I mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want to put something long and flat end, it's got to come out. And to get that out, you've got to put the seats down, and it won't be a trivial exercise. The old one wasn't painted red. It did have a brace, but it was nice and low on the hatch. But this one works better, apparently. The good news is these cars really haven't gone up in price since in the last 2 or 3 years. You know,
That's pretty good, actually, isn't it?
the most expensive i30 hatch back then, i30 N hatch, was about 60 grand on the road, and this one's similarly 60 grand on the road for this premium model with sunroof. There's only 2 models. There's the normal and the premium sunroof one. And the only other thing you pay extra for is the paint. If you choose a grey or a black paint, it's $600 extra. Okay. Other than that, there's no options. You get all the fruit with the base model car. And this one starts around 56 grand on the road. Oh, bang! It's firm, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's just in sport setting. That's pretty clunky, isn't it? Just a bit hard to hear each other over the road noise, Stuart.
Well, there is that.
It's actually not great, is it? I mean, this is quite good quality road we're on here. It doesn't get much better than this.
Yeah. So if you chose one of these cars because you want a slightly quieter sedan-like version of a hot hatch, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, you don't have that, yeah.
I love the layout though, the ergonomics. What do you reckon this looks like?
Yeah, like for me, this whole setup in here sort of looks to me like 1995 Honda Integra, which is okay. I don't have a problem with that, but it just looks kind of old school. Maybe they've done that deliberately.
However, the seats aren't going to hold you as well as the manual buckets that are in the standard car. And you don't get the little light up, remember the light up end thing on the seat?
Yeah.
You don't get that as well. Right, so you're liking this car now, eh? It's getting better.
Yeah, but you would not be driving this car on full hard suspension mode. It just crashes over the bumps like you wouldn't believe. So you need to soften that off. Certainly if you go on the track, for sure, you put it right up there.
These are fairly easily tuned up to 300 kilowatt, and I saw one yesterday 400 kilowatt as a front wheel drive car.
Wow.
It was essentially a drag car. Right, seeing as this car clearly has legitimate track pretensions, there'll always be people who want to beef up the power. So if 6 seconds isn't quick enough, it's not hard to find a tuning shop familiar with this 2-litre motor. Now the Theta 2 2-litre turbos are very robust motors, so that standard 206 kilowatt is pretty easily increased if that's your thing. A simple ECU update with a cold air intake and a tune can add about 30 kilowatts at the wheels. Add some extra exhaust mods and a different dump pipe and you're up about 50 kilowatts from standard. Now if you upgrade the intercooler and you've added another 10, so now you're about 270 at the flywheel or about 220 kilowatt at the wheels, about 300 horsepower. More than that and you'll need to change the turbo to something like a Garrett GT25 or something like that, and without even changing the injectors or the fuel system, you can probably make 300 kilowatts out the flywheel, which is way more than you really need. None of that is going to make it sound like an Aston Martin though. It'll still have that buzzy rasp, just a bit louder. If I owned this car, undoubtedly I'd just leave it standard and enjoy it for all the wonderful things that it is. I've had the car for 4 or 5 days now, and I've been driving it in the wet. In the wet, I did not want any more power. It was already walking and struggling and trying hard, and the electronics all going nuts trying to keep me straight.
A pretty well balanced package as it is. You don't give it a ton more horsepower, you're going to start to, lose out in some other areas, I would have thought.
I can see your throttle map. A lot of data here. It's just like being back on the race team, isn't it? We can track your oil temp.
What's my brake pressure, Stu?
Oh, brake pressure?
Well, I need to do a bit of a stop there. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's see what we can get.
Here we go. 100 bar.
I told you I'd get 100 bar.
It's 1400 psi. That's a lot of pressure.
That's what you need to get. If you're not getting those sorts of figures out of your Formula 4 race car, you're going nowhere.
Yeah, no wonder your young drivers work up a huge sweat.
Yeah. Actually pulls up really nicely, doesn't it? The ABS system's brilliant. I mean, it pulses so rapidly. Really nice firm brake pedal.
100 bar.
Got the hazards going, so we've got everything happening. 100 bar.
Yeah.
It does pull up really well, doesn't it?
They're
Just
actually really good brakes.
Yeah. And the brake pedal, usually when you're pushing that hard on a brake pedal, it does give you a bit of long travel. It's just a really firm, feels like a race car.
A family sedan that's also a track car has to be able to do both. And at one extreme you've got the perfectly smooth road where you'd love to have like 30 profile tyres, and then you've got this, which is going to be the bulk of your driving. And after the bad rains we've had and everything, there are some very nasty potholes along here that will actually destroy a wheel. So you need it both ways, don't you? It's amazing how good modern cars are. 10, 20 years ago, we'd think a car that did 0 to 100 in 8.5 seconds was pretty high performance. You needed a 4-litre Falcon or a Commodore to do that, to do 8.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And now this thing will go sub 6, and it's with a little 2-litre motor. How are you finding the seats now?
Been driving it for a few hours. I don't have a sore back, so they're supportive. They do all that really well. The lumbar support sort of cracked up a fair bit. I like the fact you've got that. The previous i30N didn't have that, so that's really good. A little bit more, side bolster would be nice, but it's not the end of the world just in road driving. You'd probably notice it if you're on track, but all in all, actually pretty comfortable on a long journey. It's a little high, but everything else is really good. Positioning of the pedals, the dead pedal over to the left there is just in the right spot.
The marketing department says
a motorsport-inspired look to the model's bold, progressive design, which is inspired by the concept of parametric dynamics
That was the one.
and builds on Hyundai's sensuous sportiness. Design language through the celebration of geometric shapes,
3D surfacing and sensuous lines. They repeated the word sensuous twice. Marketing, don't do that. Use different words.
The performance blue colour, which also I probably wasn't that keen on when they first came out a while back, but I actually really like it now. I think it just works well. It's their signature colour. I think if I was buying one, I'd get this colour.
This car is the first with BlueLink. Now, BlueLink is their communication system back. Geofencing, if you want, and valet mode and things like that. You say if the car gets driven outside this area, you can remotely use your phone to start the car or get the aircon going. I got pretty good economy out of this morning. I've been cruising up the mountain. I was getting like 7 litres per 100k, which is actually pretty good.
Bad.
And a credit to this car, it's got 6,000 k's on it, and it's been fanged round tracks. It's a press car. It's had a hard life already.
Yeah.
And how does it feel? Absolutely tight as a drum.
We've been a fan of these cars for a while, and I just really like what Hyundai's bringing to the table with their N-spec cars. And of course, they still have the track warranty as well, don't they?
Yes, absolutely. And they've had years of feedback from customers on that now. The end days that we have here in Australia are just huge. There's hundreds of people turn up and they flog their cars in events covered by warranty because they're non-competition events.
Yeah.
And they have a great time, and they've proven these cars are incredibly robust.
I wonder how many warranty calls they've got from on-track activity. I bet it's not many. I mean, they're such a solid car. They really stand by their product, and I like that.
So score-wise, here's the score on screen. Last time we did an i30N, it scored 20, which is anything 20 and above is a very good score. And so here's our result today. I'm not quite sure what it is, but you can see it on the screen right over there. Oh, look at that.
But it's a really responsive car. Throttle response is fantastic. The DCT is brilliant. We've tested the brakes a couple of times now. Amazing. When you start to crack on, this car really comes alive, doesn't it? Which is what you want. I love the adjustments. It's a great car. I really enjoy driving it. Just does everything so well.
Yeah, you've just observed something.
Yeah.
The shut lines on the bonnet.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that. It shouldn't be.
Everyone I've seen's like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Got a new watch mark.
Yeah, got that one last week.
What is it?
It's a modded Casio G-Shock. Carbon fibre case.
Modded.
Yeah, they mod them.
Did
yeah,
they?
It's not made by Casio. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cool.
You love your watches.
I do.